Hello, welcome, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Kaz, your host with the most, back again today to bring you Episode 1, Part 2 of Kaz's Fighter Jet Roundtable Tournament. So, without further ado, and with the sun beating down on the roundtable, let's zoom on into the watchtower and take a look and see what kinds of planes we have today. So, first off, over here we have the CE-4 M2 Rakurai, sent in by Cyrus Plays, also known on the Discord, by his own words, that guy that sucks at making jets. I guess we'll have to put that to the test today and see how effective his design is. But we have a first. The first special weapon being included today. This is a 50 cal turret which can fire directly behind the aircraft in a 120-degree arc. That, of course, takes up one gun slot, and as a result, it has only 2 Vulcan cannons, which makes it perfectly fair, and it is armed with sidewinders. 5 of them. So it looks like they're going to be, it's going to be a close-range aircraft. It also has a single SAS module to add extra capability. Its wings appear to be rather fragile, though, so a glancing blow from just about anything will probably deal some significant damage. It's also the first real use of the Saturn afterburning jet engine, which hopefully we won't see too much more of, though I'm not completely against it. A very lightweight, very powerful engine. Makes for a big obstacle to overcome. They also light up like a freaking volcano on heat sensors, which is part of their balancing factor. So, enough about his aircraft. Let's go ahead and take a look at plane, or should I say, dogfighting pair number 2. So, here we are on the other side, taking a look at the EX-2B Lightning Force and the EX-1C Firestorm, both sent in by Jimmy, the one who ran Season 5 of Fighter Jet Showdown last time, and the fantastic owner and curator of the Discord that is gladly hosting all of this. So, thank you, Jimmy. So, let's take a look and see what Jimmy has for us today. We have the Lightning Force here, using an interesting-looking cockpit, the Mark II Thunderbolt cockpit. I can't remember what this is from. I think it's Quiz Tech. Either way, it's modeled after the F-35 cockpit. You can see the kind of thick cockpit style there, and it's raised. It's not quite as sleek-looking as the F-22. It is also using Saturn engines back here. You can see them afterburning Saturn engines. 3 Vulcan cannons, 2 mounted on the side here, and then another on the side over here. And below, we see a series of US AIM 120D AMRAAM missiles, which are quite strong if they can get a lock on the enemy target, and a 9X Sidewinder missiles. Both of those missiles are from the KBF missile pack, which is known for having some very powerful weapons. AIM 9X, though, in testing, has shown to be a little odd. So, let's go ahead and take a look at the second of this dogfighting pair, the EX-1C Firestorm. Now, this looks... well, it looks like it's in the wrong series, honestly. This isn't Space Fighter Showdown. This is Fighter Jet Showdown. Well, Fighter Jet Roundtable Tournament. Completely different from Fighter Jet Showdown. Anyway, so, looks like he's got some interesting lighting here to give his pulse lasers a bit of a glow. This is the second use of special weapons, and the first custom special weapon used in the entire tournament, so it will be interesting to see how this plane fares. It does have everything lined up in the center line of it, so that'll be interesting, and instead of having 2 cockpits, one on either side, it has a simple nose cone standing in for a second cockpit. That's rather interesting. It's also running with two NMB Product 30 engines and a single Saturn, which is a setup I myself have used in the past, using, again, the 120D AMRAAM missiles, and I'm assuming, yep, the AIM-9X missiles. So, let's go ahead and get these things started and get them up into the air, huh? So once again, we are back at the watchtower for that neutral observer, and we're going to go ahead and get these aircraft into the air. And before we start, I'm going to make sure that this time I have the dogfight camera selected. Awesome. So we're all set. We're going to quick save just in case anything goes catastrophically wrong. We have a save point. And let's get these things going. Competition start. So right off the bat, we have both sets of planes throttling to high gear. If I had to guess, I would say the Rockaway would be the first into the air, and it looks like they are. I believe the Firestorm, that is the Firestorm. The Firestorm is going to take a little bit to get going. It is a much heavier aircraft, despite having 3 engines. It is still a beefy, beefy boy. So now we can see the Rockaways are pulling high into the sky. They're going to hit their default altitude rather quickly and then just circle, waiting for Jimmy's aircraft to pull into position. And with that, we have the competition starting between the two aircraft. First things first, we have an AIM-120D being launched by Jimmy's aircraft over here. We have several. We had an AIM-9 fire, but seemed to not find a target. AIM-120D coming in on the Rockaway. Is it going to hit? And a miss. And we have an AIM-9X flying in for the farther Rockaway. Is it going to hit? No. All right, first missile pass is done. We are now going to move in and see what we can get in the fighter view. So here we are following the lightning force as it flies around. Looks like it's firing a missile. Appears to be an AIM-9X. Those AIM-9Xs have a very large lock range, but they are known to be somewhat, well, inconsistent, and have a tendency to sometimes lock onto friendly targets, which obviously is a bad thing. Kind of a slow start to a match compared to the ones we had yesterday. Here instead, we're going to switch to a Rockaway, which appears to be closing in, firing an AIM-9, heading straight for the lightning force. Lightning Force seems to be struggling a little bit, as the Rockaways are much smaller, with much more engine thrust per weight. I'm hearing pulse lasers go off! Here goes the Firestorm, trying to line up shots. Ooh, those are close. Let's go ahead and pull up the nav ball so we can see how this thing is maneuvering. Still coming up, trying to get in with those pulse lasers. They are incredibly powerful. As I said in episode 0, they do have a fairly slow fire rate, but if they do make contact, they will deal a tremendous amount of damage. We're going to go ahead and pull away to generic standard view right now. Try and get a wider view on everything going on, just to get some interesting perspective. Looks like we have the lightning force trying to get the other Rockaway off the Firestorm's tail. Looks like it is fairly successful in chasing it off, although the high Rockaway now fires off an AIM-9! We have lag. That means a hit. Oh! And the... Oh, man. Well, that's some fun confetti. The lightning force, in a shocking turn of events, seems to have been turned into confetti. That's not the party you want to find yourself dealing with. Another missile streaks by. Let's go ahead and get onto one of the Rockaways and watch it trail the Firestorm here. Firestorm is rather large and in charge, but the Rockaways are definitely putting some hurt on. Rockaways, instead of packing any of the powerful 30mm guns we have, are making use of those 20mm Vulcans. Flying around, firing another AIM-9 missile Aimed again at the Firestorm, although it looks like it's locked onto flares and not the actual aircraft. Good for the Firestorm. Yeah, all it's going to take, though, from the Firestorm is a couple hits with those pulse lasers, and the Rockerize will be having a very bad day. The only problem is, can the Rockerize manage to turn? It seems to be lagging quite a bit in comparison to the smaller, lighter fighters. Oh, and it gets some parts stripped off. Let's pop over here to the Firestorm, see what we're looking at. Looks like part of the front got off. One of the air intakes seems to be sheared off. That's going to cause a little bit of unbalance. But it does have plenty of wing to give, so hopefully, with any luck, we might be able to turn things around. This is still round 1, meaning we will have a round 2, just to see if the Rockerize can pull off another victory if they win. Firestorm going awfully low on the ground right now, but pulling up slowly. Rockerize gaining some distance before coming around for another attack run, it appears. And we've got pulse lasers flying, but they don't hit the mark. However, whoa, that was close. Would have singed the camera. More pulse lasers flying. Not gonna lie, I'd like to see the first pulse laser kill of the tournament. That would be pretty cool. Looks instead, though, that the Rockerize are just trying to burn through their missiles at this point. Looks like all the missiles are gone, and now they've only switched to guns. Firestorm isn't made of very many tough parts, at least on its wing surfaces. The body itself seems to be made of fairly decent fuselages. Oh no! Lag and confetti. We've got confirmed confetti on the Firestorm. Let's see how badly damaged it is. Well, it's still flying, but it's taken a lot of damage. That decorative centerpiece sure is looking pretty badass, but looks will not win you a fight. Firestorm desperately trying not to spin out. It's lost many of its control surfaces. Rockerize are now speeding by, just taking pot shots at it. Like a school of sharks circling a wounded target, waiting for the opportunity to kill here. We're switching back to guns as the Firestorm continues to fight back as best as it can. Pulse lasers are fantastic weapons, however, they do tend to do better on more maneuverable aircraft, if only because they can keep them to bear on their target much more easily with their agility. More parts being stripped off of the Firestorm, but it's still not dead. At least not quite dead. It's got 2 engines and very little active control surfaces. It's trying to rely on the gimbaling of those 2 active engines to pull it out, but I think it's falling into a flat spin. It's a very low speed flat spin, but it does appear it is going down. Once it hits ground, it's basically over. And it looks like it's gonna hit. It hits. That lag means we've got a solid collision. It is now back to Firestorm debris. And if we pull out a fighter view here and take a look, all we have is a mishmash of parts. So, that means that round 1 goes to the CE4M2 Rockerize. Let's see if they can pull it out for round 2. So here we are again at the start of round 2 between the Rockerize and the Lightning Force and Firestorm. Rockerize took round 1 quite sweepingly. We have Kaz Kerman back in the command seat after being shy. Maybe he was taking a potty break. I don't know if they have a restroom here in the watchtower. I didn't design it with one, but he's wearing a spacesuit, so he should be fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and get these planes into the air for round 2. Once again, the Rockerize showing off some of their capability when it comes to their high thrust to weight. Just going to make sure that the dogfight camera distance is saved and correct. It doesn't like to save between scenes. Let's zoom out as these planes climb into the sky. Once again, the Rockaway is hitting their operative point very quickly. The other two aircraft, the other dogfighting pair, is set for a lower altitude, it seems. Alright, so we now have launch of missiles confirmed. AIM-120Ds coming in from the Firestorm and the Lightning Force. Chaff being dumped from the Rockaways. They are small aircraft, so they are fairly stealthy. However, it appears that we have some missiles coming in. Whoa! AIM-9Xs and AIM-120Ds. Oh man, one of the Rockaways gets taken out immediately by a missile. And that's the first missile pass done. That means we're zooming in. Let's see if the Firestorm and Lightning Force can pull it over and bring this into a round 3. Another missile slamming into the fallen Rockaway. That's not good. Fired a missile, locked onto his friend. I told you, those AIM-9Xs are very good if you can get them on target, but they do have a habit of locking onto their buddies. Not good. Looks like maybe the pulse lasers are having a bit of an issue firing straight at the target when they're off-center like that with the cockpit. Trying to lead the target with those pulse lasers. Now, this is a 2v1, so odds are we're going to see some damage being dropped on this Rockaway before things are out. Let's go ahead and watch things from its perspective here as the Firestorm loads up, trying to get into pulse laser range. Pulse lasers, blue streaks of death flying in. Very fast projectile velocity, even if they don't fire very close together. Oh no, we got a solid missile hit on the rear end of the Rockaways there. I do not hear any engine fire, which means without engines, there's very little it's going to be able to do. It's not quite over until a plane hits the ground, though, because we've had some surprise kills in the past. However, I will say it's not looking very good. The Rockaway is made largely of wing surfaces, and that does mean it will glide for quite a while. However, the problem here being it can't really maneuver, which means it's just easy pickings. And the Lightning Force lines up a shot and takes it out. It's not going to do much as a flying cockpit. That means round 2 is going to go to Lightning Force and the Firestorm. That means it's the first round 3 of the tournament. And here we are once again for round 3, ladies and gentlemen. Each one of these planes has had one victory apiece in their corner. Who will take the final? There can only be one winner here in the tournament. So let's see which of these two teams will go home as a winner and join the Reaper. Let's see what we've got. Starting competition. Once again, we already know how this is going to play out. The Rockaways are going to get into the air first. Not necessarily that that means anything. However, they will get into the air first and climb quite heavily with their high thrust-to-weight ratio, while the Lightning Force and Firestorm do lag behind. We've seen this pattern twice before already. Not really much else to say as the planes get into position. Now, the real question on everybody's mind, or at least my mind at this point, is whether or not the Lightning Force and the Firestorm are going to manage to get some early missile kills or not. If they do, I think it's a pretty solid victory, but if the Rockaways manage to avoid getting hit by missiles early on, then it is quite possible we could see a Rockaway victory. I'm not willing to sell either of these sides out. That said, though, that Rockaway is taking a lot of missile fire, and we have a collision on this Rockaway over here. However, it does a... Oh, no. That's some heavy damage on that Rockaway over there. First missile pass is done. We are going to go ahead and move in. Let's take a look at some of the damage. This Rockaway does have damage to one of its wings. Appears to be its right wing. It is still flying, however. As I switch away, it seems to have gotten hit by a missile. This Rockaway is down for the count. And the first one, firing the missile in desperation. You can see the massive effectiveness of the AIM-9 there as it tries to get in on its target. But I think that was a pretty decided victory there for the Lightning Force and the Firestorm. I don't see how either one of these two Rockaways can do anything. This one's basically just an empty cockpit at this point. And this one, though it's more than a cockpit and might have a gun or two, it definitely has no maneuverability capabilities. So I'm going to have to call it there. That is the end of round 3. Meaning that our victors for this part are the EX-2B Lightning Force and the EX-1C Firestorm. Amazingly, the Lightning Force seems to have put in work even without any engines on the back. Which means the real MVP in this particular fight is the big chunky boy, the Firestorm. Well, that's about it for me this time. Thank you for joining me on this wonderful fighter jet adventure. I hope you'll all join me again for part 3 of episode 1 of the Fighter Jet Roundtable Tournament. I've been Kaz, and I'll see you next time.